This is Xane Anderson, and welcome to the Principal Podcast today. Today, I am honored to have Martin Clausen. He's the co-founder of Learners HQ, which is the ultimate selling platform. It's the ultimate platform to start selling on. And he's been in the business of helping people build a better future. He wants to help people succeed. Thanks so much, Martin, for being on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for not butchering my name. I've heard it so many different ways at this stage.
Did I say it right? Martin Clausen, is that right?
Martin, I kind of lost sense as the years have gone on. I'm living abroad, but yeah, you nailed it, Martin Clausen. I feel like that's as close as it's going to get for now, anyways.
And I got to tell you, I'm so honored to have Martin. Martin is actually originally from Denmark. Is that correct?
Correct.
And I was lucky enough to spend a little bit of time in Denmark and learn Danish. Such a great. In fact, let's speak. I'm going to say, hvordan har du det? Or
har det rigtig godt?
Fordi du tak for i dag. Tak fordi du kommer på det. How do you say that?
Tak fordi du kommer på min podcast. You almost said it like you should have said podcast. There's no Danish word for podcast.
Tak, Martin.
Selv tak. Det er rigtig fint. Dit dansk er...
Tusind tak skal du have. Tusind tak. So tell us this. You're living. Where are you living now?
Right now, I am residing in Ireland, and I've been here the last 10 years of my life. After leaving Denmark in 2014, like I just had my 10-year anniversary here in Ireland. And originally I left Denmark just because I needed to see greener pastures. I hadn't really had the opportunities back home that I wanted to. The companies that I would like to work for weren't there. And my school and the degree and the direction I'd taken early on in life didn't really allow me to do what I really felt passionate about when I grew into my 20s. So when I was at my late 20s, I left Denmark, and I've been in Ireland for the last 10 years, even though the plan was to be here for a year or something. Here we are a decade later.
Yes, and now you've founded this company called Learners HQ. It's a website. Tell us about that. What made you decide to build this platform?
It is a product of love and frustration. Originally, I was very lucky when I did land in Ireland to actually work for some very, very reputable companies. And I managed to kind of climb the career ladder within different companies that were all great to work for. But I always had this entrepreneurial spirit. Like even back home in Denmark, I had some projects and things I would do that would be extraordinary. And I kept kind of looking to do those even when I was in Ireland. And then before I knew it, I was working for companies that was dealing with entrepreneurs, and I just got sucked into that world again. So around 2019, just before the unfortunate time of COVID happened, I decided to leave the last company I was working for in the corporate world and start venturing out online, where I felt like I'd had enough experience and I'd learned enough from the people I worked with about how to become successful online. I'd always been kind of a creative guy. I'd been very, very lucky that I had friends around me that were creative, and I ended up often just being kind of like the guiding light and managing people. So I'd never actually myself done the creative part. So when I wanted to start my first business, I was like, I want to learn graphical design and I want to like design clothing. I had a lot of artist friends in that time that I was hanging out with. So I started the first business actually online on Shopify, the platform, and I'd also worked for Shopify before that. So it was a great entrance for me to start working for them. And take away COVID and all the things I just mentioned, what I did learn when I did start was that it was very rough to get started. You could have the best idea, but there would be a lot of things you had to learn in order to even do the fun part of like promoting your stuff and talking about it and engaging with potential customers and actually get them to convert was like the really hard thing. So 6 months passed from starting, and I was bogged down with like learning website design and all of the like little knick-knack things that I had to work on it. And I would find myself like talking to support more than actually going out and trying to find customers. And even though I had a savings, that slowly just got chewed up by just time and subscription prices. And before you know, you're like, oh, I want this on my site, but now I need to go pay that software because it's not actually embedded in the version I have. All of these experiences over time resulted in Learners HQ, where me and my business partner, we sold on Etsy. We had a Shopify store. We sold on Amazon. Like all of these marketplaces that were out there, we were like, oh, this is a great opportunity for us to get started in an easy way and get beyond all of the things I just said. But it wasn't that easy. And we then decided around a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, to go like, okay, every time we start one of these platforms, they either take a lot of our profits and have a lot of hidden fees, or we find ourselves in a position where we have to pay for subscriptions to all sorts of different tools, and it becomes a very big web of things you have to figure out how to do, and you hardly do the thing that you actually really want to do, which is sell the stuff and talk to people. And Learners HQ is a result of that, where we now have created a platform. But yeah, I can see. Please do ask questions.
Oh, what I was just going to say, first of all, I was just going to say, my hat's off to you in the fact that you're willing to take the entrepreneurial plunge. And that's so many people are afraid to take that step, but really you jump into it. And the truth is, you're going to fail sometimes at some things. That's just how entrepreneurial is. And I think if people can say, hey, you know what? I'm going to expect that I'm going to fail. I'm going to fail fast. I'm going to learn how to do it. And then that's what eventually makes it happen so that you can figure out what's really needed, like you've just done, which is so awesome. I love the attitude of, hey, we're going to go for it. And, working with Shopify or Etsy maybe wasn't exactly how you thought it would be, but here you've now decided I'm going to use that pain that I had and I'm going to create something better.
Yeah,
And that to me is awesome. I love that. I love that spirit, that hustle spirit, that hustle momentum. So
I love
good
you
for
saying
you.
that, because the reality is, and now I kind of like, when you ask me like how'd you get to Learners HQ, it's such a condensed story, right? I'm trying to just get to the point of how did it get created, but the reality is the lead up to it, as I said, was built of frustration and love. Is one thing is the entrepreneur route. You feel like there's a lot of heartaches, there's a lot of failures, and people don't know that like the road to success is paved by failures most of the time. But so is anything, right? I often have this conversation with people where they forget whatever it is that they're skilled at any given time in life. We have a tendency to forget like the early days of when we started, whether it is, parenting, painting, cooking, bicycling, everything we take for granted of like the beginning was absolutely horrible for most of us. And if there was a camera on us and it was as public as something like building online to this day and age of having a business and going out there, we would all be cringing in our seats, right? If there was a camera on us on anything we started. So it is interesting when you say like that the entrepreneurial route is built with failures. And it's like, I'm always reminding people like everything is, but you tend to forget that because the entrepreneurial thing, it becomes very focused and it becomes very public. And you might have told some friends and family you're doing this, and all of a sudden there's like a lot of eyeballs on what you're doing, and they get to sit and scrutinize and look at it, and you become much more vulnerable on the entrepreneurial route. And I think a lot of people get discouraged from it. And I myself, leading up to Learners HQ, which is like the core reason that we did create it was tough. Like there was scenarios where I didn't want to share it with my friends. I didn't want to share it with the family. And the more failures I had early on, when I started, I'm like, I'm gonna leave my job and it's gonna be just rose petals and everything's gonna be great. And then the first month came and went, and the second month, and people were asking for results, and they were saying like, "Oh, have you sold anything?" And like the walls would just start closing in on you because you had a mountain of issues and things that you were like, oh, I didn't think it would be this hard, but I didn't think it would be easy, but I had no idea of everything that I have to learn every day. And then I try one thing and I fail. So I found myself like I've deleted like certain social medias, I've created new ones, I have purged like my LinkedIn early on because I was like, oh, now I'm like vulnerable and my like ego is taking a hit on it. And I know that's a big blocker for a lot of people. And that is also what we've done with Learners HQ, is like we give people, and we'll get it more into the details of it, but just to like tell the story behind it, is like that was one of the big things for me. Was I had enough self-reflection to go, this was tough. Like I'm a guest on a podcast now, and even just being in this moment, I can be like, oh, this is a bit uncomfortable for me, but I know it's going to benefit me in the long run because now I've endured these other things that I knew, even though they sucked at the time. I did learn from them. Like I did learn great lessons for them. And that's the same thing as all the times we fall on the bike. We still get back up on that bike and we learn, and all of a sudden you just see somebody riding down the street, but we forget that's the process of all things you have to get better at and get skills at it. The difference is just with the entrepreneurial route, it's very public.
I love that. And it's the fact that you're doing it. So much respect, Martin. And one of the things that really drew me to have you on the podcast is that you've set up this platform that's extremely generous. As I looked through, I saw you had this platform that was for course creators or other online creators, people who wanted to monetize their content. And you probably have the most generous model that I've seen for somebody who wants to do that. I think that's wonderful. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so again, because I was on these different platforms, and as I said, I had certain instances where it would be very bitter pill or bittersweet for us when we got paid from various platforms to see how much of the hard work actually did pay our what we would get paid out from them, right? It was always a bittersweet feeling of knowing like, wow, I almost hated doing it, but if I calculate my hourly wage of what I'm earning on this year, it's not really worth it. I should probably just go back into the corporate world and stick with it. So we tried with the platform as well, and my business partner is a former accountant. We were like, how can we make this platform so people are motivated to actually try it out, and how can we remove all the blockers that I just talked about? So what we've decided to do on it is we take 10% of whatever profit that anybody earns per transaction on the platform. But we didn't want to just do 10% because you can find other people and other platforms out there that charge 10% of whatever transaction profit is there, but we kept it out. So we've said that we can never charge any individual more than $8 per transaction that they make on the platform. And that's the absolute maximum. So whether 10% is higher than that value, we kept it out at $8. And we're paying a
And
lot
that's
of money.
amazing. And that's such a great deal because there are some platforms that want to take more than half.
Oh yeah, there certainly is, and subscription prices and all of this here can also add up. And we are also aware that our platform will be something where people can really get started. Like that's the idea of it. It's massively. It can be a great asset for people that already have an audience built, and they'll be able to also put their stuff on our platform, right, and make much more money on our platform they would elsewhere. And there's different levels to the entrepreneurial journey where we just want to give people an option. That the thing that we say on ours is you never have to spend any money up front at all. You never have to take money out of your pocket to actually use our platform. But we also understand that there are different levels where maybe you're better suited for a subscription-based price and you've grown on your entrepreneurial journey, and it makes better sense for you on a business-wise than to give us a cut of whatever profits you're making. But we will still always remind people, like, you're not spending money on us. And I'm a big proponent of as well of like, put as many tickets in the lottery as you can, like get your stuff out there on so many things, because there's so many different audiences on different things. Like I've talked to you, I've talked to a lot of other people, and we will talk about, do you know this platform? Or I've had people say like they never heard of Etsy. I've had people say they've never heard of Udemy and so forth. Like Amazon is probably the biggest brand where people just nod along. But there's a lot of these platforms that are making people a ton of money and changing lives and being so profitable for a lot of people that someone had never heard of. So like, we just want to make sure that people understand, get yourself out there. What we help you with is a very generous package for you to earn without any money up front. And then there's so many features on our platform, and I understand that like half of them won't be used of half of the people on the platform. But we've tried to package it with so many cool things on it as we can think of, and give people freedom to actually use it. Like we want to make sure, as you and I have talked about, the path or the journey to success goes from A to B for everyone. Whatever success is the definition for them. But for you to get to one place, it's the same distance for everyone. It's just how fast can you get there, right? Like that's the difference for people. Some people just have an innate talent for being on social media and promoting themselves, and they can go viral and it seems so easy to them. And other people will take 5 years to get to the destination, but the earnings can be the exact same. It's just how fast they kind of get to it. And we're trying to give them that space as well. Of, you can fail on our platform. You can go on a podcast like I am. You can be the face of something. You can also create a profile on our platform where you're behind some AI generated image and you don't want to do that, or you want to sell digital products only. Like we've tried to think of what things are there in the online space right now in the digital world that can be sold. So just the caveat here, we don't sell physical products, or we don't allow it directly as an Etsy component on it, maybe in the future. But for now, it's digital products or anything where you are a consultant, or if you're somebody that is able to create courses, or kind of like Patreon where somebody wants to update and publish something. And that's what you can do with Learners HQ. And then we have fantastic features in the pipeline. We have a learning or a landing page builder that's being implemented currently. I saw the first draft of it this morning, and it's actually better than what we had anticipated. We have integrations with various tools and email products that you can use as well. We're trying to think the ultimate platform, but without saying the all-in-one, because there will be things that we're like, this is not good for us. Like emails, we probably will never take that on board, because you need to make sure you get into people's inbox. And that's something that's really hard if you're not really you haven't built the authority. So we're trying to do as much as we can within reason and give it to people upfront, behind no gateways, and give you everything from day one to utilize, and not have some sort of premium package before you get the good stuff. Because that was what we suffered under. We were like, I want to get started doing this, but now I have to pay X amount before I can get this one feature, and it's wrapped around 10 other things that I don't need. So now I have to pay this amount to get to that one feature, and then it's going to put me behind my businesses again, and I have a family to provide for, or bills coming out. And we know everybody has problems, but everybody has the talent and can do something if they're allowed it, and that's what we're trying to do.
I love that. And there's no monthly fee or monthly subscription. It's just if the person performs, you get a small cut, and you've created this wonderful platform. You know, a lot of our audience, Martin, is geared towards parents. And one of the things that has been helpful for me in my own parenting is I'm so grateful that I took the entrepreneurial plunge many years ago. Now, there's been some really tough times. I want to build expectations. There's been times where I failed and failed and failed, and sometimes I fail in the current times, and sometimes we do really well.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I'm grateful for is that by taking this plunge, and you've created a platform that would allow parents to go ahead and you know, some of these, we have parents out there who have great skills, who have great things, and if they could monetize it in a better way, have a little bit more freedom to be with their family, to spend more time with their family because they've got some good things that you've created here. That's wonderful. You know, I'll tell you this, last year, we were able to take a 6-week trip through the southern states of the United States, and we have a little pop-up tent trailer, and we loaded up our kids in the car, and we went through, and we went all the way from the western United States to the eastern United States, and drove through, and we took about 6 weeks doing it. And that is not something I probably would have been able to do if I hadn't have taken the entrepreneurial challenge and done that. Now, it allows me to set the time where I work. Now, sometimes I have to work early in the morning or late at night, but I get to choose the time I work. And that allows me to say, hey, I'm going to go spend some time with my family. And to me, that's really important to be able to say, okay, I'm not going to let the corporate world decide exactly when I can take vacation days or not, or have to ask permission. I'm going to be a hard worker, and I'm going to be able to have the freedom I want to be a dad who can spend time with my kids and at the same time be successful. And one of the reasons I wanted you on this platform, Martin, is here you've created this super generous platform where if a dad or a mom or a parent wants to put out some of their content. So, you know, let's say a mom wants to put out some recipe content, or a dad has some sort of special skill that he can put online. You enable them to be successful, and it creates a win-win. You can win, they can win, and hopefully that will free up some time so they can take care of the relationships that are important to them in their lives, and be keyed in the thing that's most important, which of course are relationships. So
I love
that.
Yeah, no. So you got me thinking about it, right? It's an interesting aspect of it. So I'm sure you've gotten this. I've gotten this. A lot of people go like, "Oh, you're very special, and you did something I couldn't do." And a lot of people are kind of in limiting beliefs of like their abilities to do certain things, and they might paint an entrepreneur in some sort of very unique and special light. And for whatever reason, I've always seen the adaptability of being able to go out and try something on my own. And I respect everybody in the corporate world, but I will also be remiss if I didn't say that there's a lot of things that's just been normalized in this day and age, right? Going to school, getting a degree, getting a job, working the career ladder is absolutely normalized. What we are doing is often looked upon as being something risk takers or very extraordinary, but a lot of people fail to remember that like whatever corporation and company you're working on, at one point that was built by an entrepreneur who took the chance to go outside of the confined roles and started doing that, and they were mightily successful or medium or small, whatever, where you are, that was how it started. And then people kind of get in this weird thing where they think that, okay, so my general wage for, let's say I'm a consultant within like in the banking world or the accountant world, and they know like they can see the landscape of this is what an accountant is usually paid on a global scale or in my country or whatever. And then they normalize that in their head of going like, I should be paid 50,000 a year or whatever. And if I get anything above that, that's great. And we can look at the business or the bank and how much they're owning or earning on a yearly basis, and it's way above like your average salary, but somebody's definitely winning in the calculation. And then I've often seen, if I meet an entrepreneur or somebody who's a freelance guy and they're doing like the exact same job, but they're just doing it on a freelance base, and they are like consulting with, let's say, 3 clients a week. And then you sitting in corporate world and you have like 10 or 15 clients that you're trying to like balance all of this for a salary that's the same as what the other guy's earning on just three, and you feel like they're doing something extraordinary. But a lot of people and parents and all this here, like, it's, I hope you get where I'm going at. It's been normalized to a very unique extent that people in corporate world think that it's different what they do than what you and I do. It's like, it's really not. It's the same skill set. What I've learned in the corporate world, I was able to apply in the corporate world. What I learned in the corporate world, I'm now able to apply to this. I didn't go to entrepreneur school. I didn't take something that you couldn't get as well. I just looked at it from a different perspective. And I think that's what I'm also trying to tell people and enable them with, of like, your skill set or even things that aren't your day-to-day job can be monetized, and you don't have to go out and be greedy. You don't have to price mark yours to be like $2.99 and have somebody else suckered to it, for lack of better words. But like, we can all try to help each other and lift each other up, and just try to remember that whichever corporation you're working for, if they're publicly traded or whatnot, it kind of skews the positioning of who are they really trying to help and who's actually really benefiting from this normalization of your salary. And if you're like, well, I'm happy with what I'm getting, I'm like, that's great. I want people to be happy, but realize if you did this on an entrepreneur route, or if you went on the consultancy route and did it outside of it, you could definitely earn out much more, and you could position yourself way different than what you kind of limit yourself to, because you just look around the floor and you see like, well, this is what we're all earning, so I should be lucky to get 5,000 more. Yeah, does it make sense?
That makes complete sense. And the truth is, if you have a job and you say, okay, well, I want to have the safety and security of a job. I want to tell a typical W-2 job in the United States, you're putting all of your eggs in one basket. In other words, if there's an economic change and they decide to do layoffs and they say, hey, no, we don't need you anymore. It's even from a security standpoint to say, okay, I'm going to maybe start a side hustle. Maybe I can, try to monetize some content on a platform where you're extremely generous like this. You don't maybe have to quit your job today. You could try to do it as a side hustle and see if you could build it slowly. But I will tell you this, if you have, for those who are listening, who have dreams to start a business or to go do that thing that you need to do. Everybody has something inside that they know they need to do, but sometimes we get afraid and we say, oh goodness, I don't know if I can do this. Now, I got to tell you, I was in the corporate world. I had a salary, was actually doing some sales, had some benefits. And I told my wife, I said, I don't think I can do this anymore. I just don't want to do this anymore. And luckily I have a supportive wife, and she said to me, she said, X, and I said, I got to quit. She goes, are you sure? I said, yeah, I'm sure. Now, that's a scary place to be, right? Mm-hmm. And we can go further into that. We had some scary months, some months where we thought, oh goodness, what are we doing? Are we going to make this work? And we've also had some months that were phenomenally good, where we said, I'm so grateful we made this choice. Now, they come together, and I'm not telling anyone how to run their career, how to run their choice. But I would say, they say at the end of your life, you regret the things that you didn't do more than the things that you did do. And if you need to do something, one of the reasons I wanted Martin to be on this platform is because I believe Martin has created something that can empower those of you who are thinking about it to take the plunge and say, I'm going to try. I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to give, and it could be anything. And the thing I want to tell people as well is there's some things that are ordinary to us. Like for me, it is completely ordinary for me to get on the phone and call a business and sell what I have. I've written a book on it that was seen on Forbes, and it's not a big thing to me, but there's a lot of people who that would be a super big deal. And I could put that content out. Well, there's a lot of people who's, maybe how to cook, or maybe how you're a handyman and you know how to fix things. I wish I knew how to fix things. I don't know. I'd probably pay for a course on how to fix things. But if you're willing enough to take that plunge, goodness, Martin, you've created that platform where people can say, you know what, let's try. And it's with such minimal risk, because you're saying you want to promote them. They want to, and you can both succeed together. And that's what I love, is that you've put together a platform that truly is not greedy, that truly is very generous, and where people can give it a shot. And I'm going to tell you this right now. I have not yet put a course on your platform, Martin, but I intend to, because I've looked at other
Appreciate
platforms.
that.
And I want to say that I intend
Yeah.
to put probably multiple courses on your platform here in the short near future. So for any of you parents out there who are considering, who want a little bit more freedom, this may be a way that you could take what you know you need to do and give it a shot. Doesn't mean you need to quit your job tomorrow. Maybe you have a side hustle until you can get it going a little bit, but it's something that I wanted to share with our audience today, because I think it's an opportunity. You had
I
a
love that.
comment.
Like again, yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. Like, not only, like as you said a few times, like I don't succeed if you don't succeed. Period. Like that's the business model. That's all the risk we've put up front, right? We literally do not succeed unless our users succeed. And what I also wanted to do with this platform was to let people know. And now I've mentioned a few times that we had a lot of upfront costs with like subscriptions, or the ones platform we're on, they were taking a big part of the profit. What I want people to say or understand as well is, if you're in a job right now where you get that salary and you have the comfort of knowing that that's coming in, we can save you definitely a few $100 a month, that if you were to go on any other platform and start to pay them on subscription prices and whatnot, and you could then use that money to leverage the things that you're right now struggling with. So if you need somebody like X that's great at doing sales calls and doing the things that will really convert, then we really, really entice people to go out and leverage those. Find coaches, find people that will bridge the gap of what you're missing with the money we've now freed up for you up front, because that's what we were always missing. Was we got caught up in all these things. I had to learn how to make a website. And am I great at making website? Absolutely not. Do I understand that?
But you did it. That's what I love. I love that
Yeah.
you said, I don't know how to do this. I'm going to do this. It reminds me of, I'm going to interject real quick. Thomas Edison, it had like tried thousands of things before he finally got the light bulb to work. And people asked him if he was failing. He said, nope, I just know thousands of things that don't work.
Yeah.
Right. And now I did it. And you did. And you've just decided, I'm going to hustle and find a way to do this. And some things work and they don't, but you're still going. And that's what I love.
I appreciate it. And again, as you also mentioned, is people find themselves in this, like I like to refer to as the curse of knowledge, right? Everybody, as you just said, handyman and all these things here, we get so used to, like, you spend a few years doing something and then it's just normalized for you. Like, oh, that's easy. Everybody knows how to do that. And then a lot of people are actually apprehensive about starting posting on social media and whatnot, because you tend to then compare yourself with whoever you find now on the algorithm that's being shown to you, and you see like, oh, they have thousands of followers, or I don't have that production value, or they have like the perfect kitchen. If you're in the cooking scene, right, you're like, oh, I don't have that kitchen, so nobody's going to bother looking at my stuff. But the reality is, you have so many things going for you still, despite of your shoddy kitchen in the background. A lot more people might be able to relate to that. They're like, oh, this looks like my kitchen. I'm going to be able to have the same tools or lack of. And if this person can create this amazing dish with whatever they have on a budget and all this, it speaks way more to me than if I am to now go on somebody's course and I see that they have like $1 million kitchen, the things are handed in from the side, and they have all these unique groceries that I can't even get my hands of. So there's also a big disparity where people get caught up in the curse of knowledge of like, oh, well, I know all these things. There's no bothering me now showing what I know, because I can see there's somebody way ahead of me in the race. But it's like, there's different levels of it that you should also feel comfortable putting a course out there, or putting a digital product up there, a cheat sheet, or your recipe can also be put on our platform, right? That if I am to go into movie making right now, I could definitely pay thousands of dollars and sit with Martin Scorsese and be taught how to make movies, but I'm missing all of the steps leading up to his expertise and his level of expertise. That a lot of people think also that these courses can like cheat you a way to get to a certain place, and they simply can't. Like, in anything, like I said with the bike example earlier, you have to learn the basics to go to the intermediate, to go into the, like, that's always the journey. And there's a lot of people that just sell themselves short and thinking like, well, I shouldn't even bother doing this now because somebody's ahead of me in the race. Where I'm like, yeah, but at one point they were at the exact stage you were. So we also want to,
exactly right.
Yeah, we also want to empower people to let them know, like, whether you, so let's say the scenario, let's say you're somebody like you, or what you mentioned, a handyman, right? You're somebody who's great at installing, what do I know? Like, your expertise is like kitchens, as I just mentioned. You make great kitchens, but you don't do like mansion kitchens, but you do that. Then on our platform, you can, under one email, you can create unlimited profiles. That's another thing we do. Everything is unlimited on our platform. Unlimited courses, unlimited profiles as an example. But then you can have one profile where you cater to an audience that, like, if you're just getting started in your how to set up a kitchen and do all things, here's that profile for it. And here are my beginner courses. And then you can have one that's for a different audience, for like, here's when you're 3 or 4 years into the journey and you now know this and you don't want to get confused with all the beginner stuff, you make another profile for it. And you can have one for the expert ones. Like, we have tried to really give people the freedom on the platform to think of, like, you can package your knowledge in so many different ways, but a lot of people just look to the top of the mountain and they go, why should I even bother when Scorsese at the top, when the super athletes are in the NBA and whatever it is already, why should I even start dribbling now when it's too late for me? Where I'm like, there's different levels to it. And you don't have to be a millionaire either. I see a lot of people doing that thing of like, oh, you can, like, we go on social media, there's somebody's going to tell you how I made X amount of dollars overnight. And it's never true. But a lot of people that just see it, they have no way of filtering it out and believing like, oh, they can try to do it. Then they'll start a business online. They'll find out that they didn't know how to sell, like you just said. And then they can't do what that person did. But that person wasn't being honest with them entirely either, right? So there's different ways that you can package it. You can be like, how I can help you earn your first $100 in a month. And that is the way you have to start. Like, there is no cheating the destination, as I said, getting from A to B. It's just how fast you can get there. But there's different levels of what do we define as success, right? Like, how much money is success to somebody? How, is somebody going to use our platform to just do free products? They can do that as well. If they want to just give back to the environment and society around them, do that as well. Like, we're trying to just let people know you can do whatever you want on our platform within limits, right? There are certain things that we of course can't allow, but if you're somebody who has good intentions and you want to get started and think that you have something to do, it can take you 5 years to succeed on our platform, or it can take you a week, and we're there with you along the journey, trying to entice you and let you know, like, leverage other people. If there's something you'd like information on, go find them.
And I love how you said that. I heard somebody say this. They said, people look like an overnight success, but when you look behind the scenes, they really hustled for like 10 years. And then they all of a sudden, it's like the bamboo shoot. But the best time to plant you've heard about the bamboo tree, where the bamboo, like, you don't see anything forever. The roots grow down. And then overnight, this thing starts growing and everyone goes, oh, this person's an overnight success. Well, really, they've been growing the roots. And in that spirit, they say the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. Well, the second best time, right? So what is, I think, kind of what you've said that I've heard is, what is ordinary to you? Some of our listeners here, it might be ordinary to you. And I didn't get this. A wise person told me this is extraordinary to other people. What's ordinary to you is extraordinary to other people. And so if you can take the opportunity, this gives you a chance to do it with very little risk. In fact, zero risk. But if you take the time to start it, so grateful that you've been able to find a way to make this easy for people, Martin. Let me ask you this. How can people find this? Where's the platform located at? How can
Learners, people find the platform? Yeah, learnershq.com. When you land on that site, that's going to be your public marketplace. We have a drop-down menu up in the top left where you can click, and then you can say become a teacher. You can also go to learnershq.com/register, and I'll give you both links, right? It's just to let people know, like, there is a front page, which is customer page, which is the marketplace, so people can see this is what customers will be seeing. But if you want to use it, you have to go to the register page or sign up on the front page. So there's different ways that you can get to the same destination. So we'll give the links in there. So that's that. I want to jump on what you said there.
That's learners, just to be clear for our listeners, learnershq.com/register. And I will put that in the show notes for those of you listening, learnershq.com/register, if you'd like to learn more about it.
And we have early adopters right now. So we have limited space for people to sign up, but we're actually going to give them an early adopters bonus. So that means if you actually sign up now as one of our first 100, and this is brand new, everything that you're getting to know, even Learners HQ, that's why it's so early days, and X is one of the first ones to actually really publicize it. We give you a bonus. So if you sign up now, before, I think we've set it to the 31st of June, it's on the landing page. But if you sign up and you actually upload a product or anything on the platform itself, then you get an 8% bonus for life. So that means instead of us charging you 10% per transaction, we only charge you 8% for life of your profits. And on top of that, if you are able to generate $100 of sales before the 31st of, that will make it July, then you will actually get 6% for life instead of the 10%, which is the generic one. So that's the early bird bonus for anybody that's quick on the trigger to go sign up now and take the remaining spots. Like some have already been taken, but if you're quick to do that, you can actually generate that deal for yourself for life, which will only be 100 people in the world that will get that.
Wow. Super, super good opportunity. Thanks for sharing that, Martin.
Yeah.
So those of you on the fence, who are on the fence, should I take the plunge and try this? It's a good time to try. Thanks, Martin.
Yeah. Yeah. But to go back to what you said, and I do appreciate it. Really, like, thank you for saying that, because I already forgot to actually put the link in there. So that's good to guide people to. But one of the things you said there again about what's extraordinary to somebody else, I had a plumber over here, so I also want to really talk to the people that might be listening now that are thinking this is all like digital based, and this is all of these things, and I don't even know how to record. I don't know how to do all these things here. That's fine, and I know that's a big blocker for a lot of people that aren't really aware that whatever you do, however unique, quote unquote, you think it might be, there is somebody out there that would like to learn it, and whatever their circumstances could be, whether they grew up in a household without a father, without a mother, whatever the skill set is, we all come from different backgrounds, and everybody lacks something in their life where if they don't have anybody in their near environment to teach it to them, they will never learn. If there's nobody on YouTube that really hasn't packaged and organized it in a way, then they will never learn. Somebody like me, I told you early on when we started, I had to leave my country to go work for the companies that I would love to work for, because they literally weren't in my company. Would I have, or in my country? Would I have decided to stay in Denmark if I had the opportunities? Probably, but I didn't have the option. If I wanted to go work for a company like that, I had to leave.
So, and that being said, I do need to put in a plug here for Denmark. Denmark is one of the awesomest places in the world. Jeg elsker Danmark. Den sejeste land I verden. It's one of the coolest places in the world. So anyway,
I can appreciate that. I do miss it as well. I go often, of course, but I appreciate that. It warms my heart to hear. But yeah, so I had a plumber over. I've just moved house recently, and I had a plumber over to help me install a dishwasher. And he was being so blah blah about it, right? He was like, he came in, and I like asking questions, and I was like, as he was doing, I was like, well, what are you doing there, and what's this? And he was like, oh, it's just this, and he was taking it very for granted what he was doing. He was just like, oh, it's just this here and this here, and you move this here, and then you plug this here, and voila! But before you knew it, we had the dishwasher installed. And at the end of it, he asked me, like, what do you do? And I then started talking to him about Learners HQ here. And he was like, oh, no, that's far too technical for him. He wouldn't even be able to do anything. And I had to remind him, I was like, well, the reality is, you taught me now how to install this dishwasher going forward. And you were very great in your details, and you were very great in showing me and pointing and getting me down on your level and showing it. And all I would have done to help you out in this instance was to hold a camera, went on my phone in front of you, asking you these questions, so you had an understanding of these are the questions the user who have no knowledge will ask, and then you answer those, and you give them the angles, and you get them down on the level that you're at, and you show them that, and before you know it, he can then package that as a course or anything on Learners, where he can say, like, here's how to install a dishwasher in the southwest of Ireland with these kind of housings. Like, I want people to also understand, the more specific you can be, the easier it is for a consumer or somebody to actually learn it, instead of going like, how to install a dishwasher. It becomes very generic. There's so many different ones of them. There's different types of kitchen. Everything is different. But if you package it that way and saying, like, here's how you do it in Ireland with this sort of equipment in this housing, then you have a course for that that'll be applicable for anybody in the southern part of Ireland to go in and actually purchase and see how to do it. And if that video doesn't exist on YouTube, as well organized and structured as that guy did it for me, because I know a lot of people come to me and say, like, oh, I can just find that on YouTube. I go, often what you encounter, and I've seen this myself, is it's not packaged. It's always generic, right? It's always done on a very, very high level overview thing, and it's not always applicable to everybody. So just food for thought for anybody out there thinking that, like, oh, my craft or my thing isn't applicable. I'm like, I beg to differ, in with all due respect. And now I have the comfort and like, I truly believe I can install a dishwasher in the neighbor's house now if they have to install one tomorrow, and they wouldn't need to necessarily call a plumber now. I don't want to take him out of business, but that's the reality of it. Like, I could do that from him teaching me, even though he would tell me that, oh, he wouldn't know how to do all this. And I said, all it needed was somebody holding that camera there. And it doesn't have to be a high-end camera. It doesn't have to be this massive production value. Like, if I showed that video and he answered the questions like he did to me to somebody else, that would be enough.
So I encourage you, take the plunge, try it. What do you have to lose? Absolutely nothing. Thank you so much, Martin, for being on the show today.
I
Thank you so
appreciate
much
it. Thank you.
for being the kind of person who is trying to create value for other people. We wish you the best in your entrepreneurial journey. Like I said, it's probably from a cost perspective the best platform I've seen, and I think it's something that I wanted to share with you. So thanks for joining us today on the Principal Podcast. Again, you can find Martin at learnershq.com/register, which we'll put in the show notes. Anything else you'd like to say? If you had to say one last thing you'd like our viewers to hear, Martin.
I just appreciate you listening. If you have any questions, please do feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. And let me actually just grab the link there for you. We can put it in the connection, but Martin Clausen, I think it's Martin at Learners, but we will put the link at the bottom here. I would love to connect with any of you that are curious about what we're doing and that want to jump along or jump on the train now. And feel free to connect with me and shoot me any questions or any requests you might have. Then I'll be more than willing and love to engage with you.
Thanks, Martin. Thanks for joining us on the Principal Podcast today.
I appreciate you, Alex.
Hey, thanks for listening to the Principal Podcast today. Sign up for my newsletter that's specifically geared towards helping salespeople, negotiators, and business people of all kinds. Anyone who needs to influence people be awesome at influence others. You can get this newsletter at xfactoredge.com/subscribe. Again, that's xfactoredge.com/subscribe. This newsletter will give you tips on how to explode your sales, be a great negotiator, and attract people to want to work with you. The link is in the show notes. Thanks again for listening.